Hi, this is Hall of Famer Jim Palmer, and you're listening to Jim on Base.
Welcome back to another episode. We're here in San Francisco in the press box with Jim Palmer. And Jim, I got to say thanks for coming on.
Oh, you're welcome. My pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun watching batting practice with you yesterday. And did you come out early to take in the field? I know you've had some nice things to say about Oracle Park in the past.
Well, it's a great, ballpark. It's one of the most, beautiful ballparks in baseball. Camden Yard's nice, but we don't have the bay. We have the warehouse. There are a lot of great parks. I broke in when I was 19 in 1965, and I pitched in snow flurries in Fenway Park. So I kind of, and then I went to Yankee Stadium when I was about 9 years old. I was adopted at birth in New York, and my dad used to take me to baseball games. Never went to Ebbets Field, but I went to Polo Grounds, went to Yankee Stadium, and then pitched pretty well when I pitched against the Yankees in the old stadium.
You'd be fun to sit around the campfire with, because yesterday you had some great stories. It was just one after another.
I kind of make stuff up. I'm just happy that at 77 I can still remember stuff. No, I've been very, I was a year before the draft, so I could have signed pretty much with any team. And, I went up to a college league, and I was the only high school player in the league. Jim Lomberg, who 4 years later would win the Cy Young for the Red Sox. Merv Redmond played in the big leagues for years. He was kind of our outfielder catcher. Bobby Floyd out of UCLA was their shortstop. Carl Morton, who won 18 games, he was actually a right fielder, but he became a pitcher. So we had a lot of really good players, and I was, 17. They were all 19, 20. So I did well, and I came back to Scottsdale, Arizona, where I went to high school. And, I wanted to go play college basketball because I was a pretty good basketball player. And, the Orioles came in, Houston came in, and I ended up signing with the Orioles. Next day, 10 other teams called, so I probably could have gotten more money, but I had a chance to play in 6 World Series and on a team that had the best winning percentage in baseball for about 20 years.
Well, you mentioned basketball, being a good basketball player, so I was wondering, do you have a favorite basketball team nowadays? Is that a sport you enjoy watching? Or?
Well, I've been, I used to go see we're going back a long time, but Wes Unseld and the Bullets in downtown Baltimore. So, I used to go to dinner with Wes, and, I played golf with Jack Barron, who played for the Bullets. And of course, they were one of the best teams in the NBA back in the late 60s, early 70s. And then the Knicks would come in, with Willis Reed and, DeBusschere and Bradley and all that. They were the 2 best teams around. So it was great going down to the Civic Center. Like 15 minutes downtown. And then they moved to Washington, so I kind of lost a little bit of touch with them. But, I've been watching – I watched the Celtics and the Heat because it was a pretty good series. The Celtics were favored. They got down 3-0, and then, actually had an off day out here, so I watched it last Thursday night, and the Heat just trounced them, even at home. So it's been good, and I watched a little bit of the game the other night, and I'm not sure the Heat can stay with with Denver. So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
You got to win 4, and and we'll see if that happens.
Well, you had such a great career, obviously, and in the 70s you were the guy. So it makes me think of music was at the top of its game, like rock and roll, pretty much all music in general. So do you have any favorite music or bands that you enjoyed seeing?
Well, I go back. I signed in 1963 when I was 17 and went to Aberdeen, South Dakota, and that's when the Beatles first came to the United States. So, every week they had a new 45, and people don't even know what I'm talking about, but that was a little record, and you had 33 1/3 and, whatever. But, and people actually bought albums before tapes and, then CDs and all that kind of stuff. I've gone concert-wise. But actually, our first World Series is 1966. We played the Dodgers. They were the favorites. They had won in 63, 65. And we ended up winning 4 in a row. And Frank Sinatra, actually, he bet $1,000 along with Dean Martin that we, I think $1,000, 40-1, that we would win 4 straight. And we did. So we went to spring training the next year, and he was at the Fontainebleau over in Miami Beach. We trained in Miami. And we had a left-handed pitcher, Frankie Bertana, from right here in San Francisco, and he knew Jilly, who was a good friend of Frank's. And Jilly said, you should invite the Orioles to one of your performances. So 8 of us went. We had a table right down in front. We were guests. I got to meet Frank Sinatra. I got to meet Mia Farrow. And then over the years, I emceed some things, and when Tony Bennett used to come, those are old classic.
Yeah.
I kind of favor. I love Adele because she does such a great voice. My wife's from Texas, so George Strait's her favorite thing. So if I go on my on my iPhone, it's going to be a lot of George Strait music and whatever. But I like all kinds of music, and I've seen the Rolling Stones. I mean, go back. I mean, Neil Diamond, U2. You name it. I've been listening to it over the years.
I'm a big U2 guy, Stones guy. So if you had to pick, is there like one concert that you're like, man, I wish we could do that one again?
Well, the Rolling Stones were great. I saw them in Washington. But I mean, I'm so old that I saw when Elvis broke in on the Frank Sinatra. So I'm probably about 7 or 8. I saw Barbara Streisand come on the Ed Sullivan Show, which is at 8 o'clock on Sunday night, and sing My Coloring Book. And I mean, one of the more exceptional voices. I like the Starborn, the original with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson. But I kind of enjoyed, the Bradley Cooper and the Lady Gaga, the remake of it, and their duet together. So, I try to pay attention, and when I'm doing my notes for baseball, I'll usually say, Alexa, put on some music or something like that. So, I'm still listening. But one band, I mean, the Stones, obviously, But I think one of my favorite shows every year is the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. On HBO, because you get to see some of the greatest musicians, and some still can, in their 60s, 70s, can still really entertain you.
That's a great show. I look forward to it too every year. And you mentioned a great story yesterday too. Was there someone that when you did have to take at bats, you'd grab their bat because it was good wood?
Well, Frank Robinson, we traded for him, traded Milt Pappas, who won over 200 games, to Cincinnati. I mean, Frank was an old 30. Well, he won the Triple Crown, had 49 home runs, 2 in the World Series. And I might have been telling Stoney facing Sandy Koufax with his R161 bat. I figured if anybody had good wood, it would be Frank Robinson, because he did hit 49 home runs and whatever. But, I kind of enjoyed it because I was one of the better hitters in Arizona until I got astigmatism. Billy Martin, who was, pretty good baseball player, pretty good manager, pretty good scout, wanted to give me $80,000 as a center fielder because I could run and throw and I could hit. And then I got astigmatism, never could wear contact lenses back then. Now I could. So I became a pitcher, and it turned out all right.
Not too bad. Well, you also have that famous game where you pitched against Koufax in the World Series, ended up being his last game. Have you guys become friends through the years? You're both Hall of Famers. What's your relationship like?
Well, I mean, I have tremendous respect for Sandy, but, you don't really run into him. I mean, he comes to Cooperstown, usually comes Saturday night. Very private guy, but great pitcher. I mean, when I was a kid, I lived in Los Angeles. So, so basically I used to listen to Vince Scully. I used to go to the Dodger games. I went to the original Coliseum. So when it was a football field, it was 440 feet to right field and then 296 feet down the left field line. So, basically, I've been a baseball fan since I was a kid.
Awesome. Well, Jim, it's been surreal to catch up with you. I know you got to get on the broadcast.
I kind of have to go to work.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Jim. Nice meeting you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.